This is the list of the top 10 most legendary chins in MMA that got cracked. Tony Ferguson. If you've watched MMA between 2013 and 2019, you probably remember the prime of Tony Ferguson. His iconic 12-fight win streak with 9 finishes by KO or submission still lives fresh in the minds of hardcore fans. With those razor-sharp elbows and unorthodox pressure, it felt like he could put down 3 men at once. I truly believe Tony will go down in the books as one of the greatest uncrowned champions in UFC history. No matter how hard guys like Justin Gaethje or Anthony Pettis hit him, his inhuman recovery, fueled by insane cardio and willpower, kept him standing and swinging. But like all great runs, this one came to an end. Tony's speed and granite chin couldn't hold up against Michael Chandler at UFC 274. Although Chandler came equipped with crazy bouts experience, Tony still managed to give him a tough fight in the first round. But near the end of round 2, Chandler found him off guarded and cracked his chin with a right kick. Now 41 years of age, Tony still claims he is not done fighting and would make a return in the UFC anywhere in this year. Fabricio Werdum. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion Fabricio Werdum, with 8 gold medals under his belt, arguably had one of the toughest chins in MMA between 2014 and 2016. He remains the only man to finish the legendary Fedor Emelianenko, which alone makes him a terrifying opponent. With 24 wins in 36 fights, Werdum was so dominant that he was never submitted throughout his career. But it all changed in UFC 198. During a title bout against 2-time heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic, Werdum got his chin cracked. Miocic landed a brutal right hook that knocked him out cold and claimed the heavyweight belt. The fact that it took 6 years before anyone managed to finish Werdum is a testament to just how tough he truly was in his prime. Chuck Liddell. The fighters today are built on the legacy of yesterday's fighters. Chuck Liddell, aka the Iceman, was one of the first to prove that if you can stuff takedowns and get back up every time, your opponent's grappling becomes useless. This light heavyweight champion ruled the UFC from 2005 to 2007, defending his title 4 times and cementing his place as one of the most dominant fighters in the game. With his devastating combination of punches and kicks, he had gone a year and a half without being knocked out. He withstood Wandy and Jardine to full decisions. Even when Wandy threw head-cracking shots, Liddell took them all. But you can't always remain a champion in MMA, especially when your opponent is Rashad Evans. At UFC 88, Evans flatlined Chuck with a devastating right hook that completely ruined his chin. The Iceman's chin was never the same after this brutal punch. Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan, a man whose chin is made of Mark Huntium, a rare element only found in him. Hunt wasn't even wanted. He wasn't good enough to be in the Octagon. At one point, he was written off entirely. But not only did he fight, he made history, climbing into the top 5 of the heavyweight rankings and earning a reputation as one of the hardest men to put away. He ate bombs from monsters like Mirko Cro Cop and granite-fisted heavyweights and still walked forward like it was nothing. Yet, every legendary chin has its breaking point, and for Hunt, it came in a shocking bout against Melvin Manhoef. In just 18 seconds, Manhoef, who was 90 pounds lighter, cracked Hunt's iron jaw with a quick right hand that dropped him instantly. No build-up, no slow breakdown, just one clean shot that shook MMA fans and proved even the most indestructible chin can be shattered. Roy Nelson. Some fighters just have that chin, which is unbreakable, and Roy Big Country Nelson is one of them. With a coconut head and a granite jaw, he stood toe-to-toe with the scariest heavyweights in the game. From Stipe Miocic to Derek Lewis, Nelson brawled with everyone using nothing but his insane strength, an iron beard, and what looked like an implanted chest. By 2015, he had absorbed over 5,000 significant strikes inside the Octagon, something few heavyweights can even survive, let alone brag about. In an era of testosterone and PEDs, Big Country was eating Big Macs like they were performance enhancers, but in 2008, that Big Mac didn't save him. Former UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovski stepped in and cooked Nelson's legendary chin with a clean, explosive shot that finally cracked the uncrackable. Based on the sheer punishment he absorbed and the unique physique he carried into the Octagon, Roy Nelson deserves a spot in the UFC Hall of Fame. Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. No height or reach advantages, just pure grit, battling it out with the giants of the UFC. His initials don't just match his name, they stand for double champion, a title he earned in both the light heavyweight and heavyweight divisions. Cormier won the vacant light heavyweight belt against Anthony Johnson and defended it multiple times. Though he lost it to John Jones, the belt was returned after Jones failed a drug test from that very fight. Cormier went on to defend the title again to clear any doubt about who the real champion was. But things didn't go smoothly for him at UFC 192 in his fight against Alexander Gustafsson. No doubt DC put up an exciting bout. But in MMA, it's not just the first shot, it's the follow-ups that do the real damage. He absorbed the kick like a warrior, but the follow-up punches to the chin wore him down. The Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie, aka Chan Sung-jung, is one of the rare fighters who came out of nowhere and ruled the MMA scene for a while. He put an entire region on the map, fought the best in the world, and continued fighting even after taking heavy blows. But his bout against Yair Rodriguez is arguably the best example of when even the greatest chins get cracked. It was the UFC Fight Night 139 main event in Denver, celebrating the UFC's 25th anniversary. Yair had his moments with flashy kicks and wild strikes, but the Korean Zombie's bodywork and pressure were controlling the chaos. Shockingly, into the final seconds of the 5th round, Yair dipped low, ducked under a punch, and landed a no-look upward elbow from underneath. The way Korean Zombie dropped to the canvas said it all. He wasn't getting back up. Nate Diaz. Even the greatest chins have their off switch, and while Nate Diaz has never been cleanly finished in his career, he was once technically knocked out by getting his chin cracked. In April 2013, Diaz faced former Strikeforce lightweight champion Josh Thompson. During the bout, his toughness was on full display, arguably one of the only times he'd ever been stopped, and even then, it wasn't clean. Throughout the fight, Nate absorbed brutal head kicks, elbows, and punches, yet kept walking forward, talking trash, and throwing hands like nothing fazed him. Most fighters would have crumbled after the first flush head kick Thompson landed, but Nate stayed in the pocket, refusing to go down. It was a high kick and the follow-up punches that dropped him to the canvas, but even then, he didn't give up. It was his brother, Nick Diaz, who threw in the towel to stop the fight. That alone speaks volumes about how ironclad Nate's chin is, and why, to this day, Thompson remains the only man to finish him with strikes in a career full of wars. Anderson Silva. In his prime, Anderson Silva was known as one of the toughest fighters to ever grace the Octagon. His otherworldly striking and slick head movement earned him the nickname the Spider. But what truly set him apart was his iron chin, allowing him to absorb ridiculous amounts of punishment while staying composed. For 7 years, he ruled as the UFC middleweight champion, but everything changed when he faced Chris Weidman at UFC 162 during his 11th title defense. Silva kept Weidman on edge with his signature showboating and taunts, but in the second round he got caught with a heavy left hook that shattered his aura and his chin. Truth be told, Silva was never the same after that knockout. Max Holloway. It'd be unjust if I didn't mention Max Holloway's granite chin in the list. He has been fighting in the UFC since 2012 and holds 2 records. Although some people regard him as a veteran and say he should retire, his speed, striking skills, and most importantly, his ability to absorb punishment make him a truly exceptional fighter. According to UFC stats, Holloway has absorbed over 2,000 strikes and has never registered a single official knockdown in his 29-fight UFC career. He has absorbed countless bombs throughout his career from the likes of Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski, and Calvin Kattar without ever going down. However, in his fight against Ilia Topuria, Holloway's vibranium chin was finally cracked. Although Holloway pushed Topuria into deep waters and made him work for every inch, Ilia stayed composed, and near the end of round 3, he picked his shots and in a shocking turn landed a perfect right hand on the button, dropping Max cold for the first time in his UFC career. If you like this video, consider hitting the subscribe button for more videos like this.